Oh, I made it back with time to spare today.
Oh my God, you're
That's how you
good.
know it's going to be a real dialed in
Look
episode.
at you're wearing Nike, I'm wearing Adidas.
Hey, we're just vegan, animal
Just
based. We just get along.
just getting
Brand
see,
agnostic.
exactly. Same values, different ways of achieving them.
Yeah.
Good morning.
How we doing?
Good. I
Well,
liked
I
our
know how
little
you're doing because we just had a little catch up,
yeah.
but
We did a little off-air pre-pod.
for the
Uh
audience's sake. Well, and I'll just say this based on our chat. Calm as a bitch. Put out good energy, you get good energy back.
Yep.
Put out bad energy, you get bad energy back.
Yes.
And life has a funny way of showing that, doesn't it?
It does have a funny way of showing it. And, the servant leadership was such a buzzword for so long, and I think it still is. And I don't think people really
Yeah.
understand what it means. And until you're really a leader and in a role where you have an opportunity to practice what it is to be a servant leader, I don't think anyone truly understands that. Um, Someone put in my world yesterday, Go Giver. A book, and I guess it's based off of this ninja selling and
Hmm.
ninja coaching, which I'm now looking into because the cable guy was at Ben's house and I like appeared in the room and he looked at me, he goes, "Are you a ninja?" And I was like, "No, I'm not a ninja." And then I get on a call yesterday with someone who was interested in coaching and he goes, "Are you ninja?" And I was like, "You're the second person to ask me
You know,
that in 2 days."
I was just about to say there's not actually no need for you to do it because your coaching is very much like their framework.
Yeah.
So you're really just you'll be paying uh to practice what you're already preaching.
That's funny. Well, that's what he said. He's like, "You sound what you're saying sounds like this
Yeah.
ninja coaching." And I'm like, "All right, now I have to look into it because you're the second person in 2 days to say something
Yeah.
about
No, I mean all it's just, you're selling as a ninja, right? Like you're not selling by selling, you're just selling by being kind and being good to people,
yes,
thoughtful, gifts, all the
yes,
stuff that you coach.
all the things we do." So I'm listening to The Go Giver, and I think it's just all good reminders, and it's something we could have a year's worth of episodes on. Every leader that I come into that really cares about their people, and I would say less C-suite and more management level,
Yeah.
their biggest challenge is how do I love my people but also get my people to perform, right? We've come in, we operate in a society and especially in a work system where it's more fear-based or it's more penalized based or it's more like I have to be separate from my people. I can't show them love and care and then still get them to produce when really by doing those things in the right way, you're going to get a higher level of production than you ever would have gotten, a higher level of loyalty than you ever would have gotten. And it's not about being soft. Why we have to remove this parallel of softness or
Yeah.
reframe how we talk, because I think softness is a beautiful thing. To me, softness is one of the hardest things to do and where I'm always so like dying to get into. But caring, servant leadership, loving under people, like that's not soft. Like that's power. So we have a lot of shifting to do. So anywhere I can continue to do that and then help that go into a corporate space is a win. So
Yeah. I really feel like the key is just leading by example.
mm,
And you may not be doing the same work that the people you manage are doing, but if they see that you're dialed in, you're bought into the mission,
mm-hmm.
they'll run through brick walls for you.
Yeah.
I've seen where leaders will call meetings, say we've got to do this, we've got to do that, and then they're the first person not to do that thing,
Yep.
and the rest of the team's looking around like, "Fuck this dude," or "Fuck
Right.
this chick." Like, why am I gonna do what she says when then she's not doing it?
Right. Absolutely. And you talked about this on last pod too, is also it's the leader's job to cast the vision or take the visionary, right? Because often like the top leader is really not a great leader, but they're an amazing visionary. Um, the people that are leading people, you have to be able to cast that vision, not only what needs to get accomplished, and yes, we're shoulder to shoulder in it, but
Yeah,
where are we going? One is the important, but the more important part is how do you fit into where we are going? Have I helped
right.
you understand your part of getting us there. Because you can have a great vision that people are like, oh, that's a great vision. But if they don't know what it looks like for them, especially if you get, that's every personality style. I could go through DI, SC, and why not knowing where the path goes is like a killer, a total
Yeah.
killer. The D will just leave much faster, and the I will cause a whole bunch of chaos and challenge and a lot of talk. And then the S and the C will be like the silent leavers because they don't feel like there's security. But that casting the vision and then showing people where they are and what it looks like for them is something I think a lot of leaders miss.
Yeah.
And they miss the first step. Like you said, they don't show up. They don't do what they say they're going to do. And people are always watching, always watching.
I mean, and again, we're talking from a leadership and more of a business angle, but this applies to relationships and parenting.
Yes. It
Your
applies to
kids know when you're
everything.
bluffing. Yeah.
Yes. Can I trust you? It's like such a basic relationship thing. And that's across the board. Children, spouses, people that you meet that may become friends, people that you want to sell to, right? In the real estate world, you go into a listing appointment or you go on a buyer's agency appointment. They don't know you. They don't know if they like you, and they don't know if they trust you. In that time, they're trying to decide, like,
Yeah.
can I trust this person? Do I want to get to know this person? Liking, rapport is the feeling of liking. When you have rapport, it's not that you actually like the other person. It's the feeling of liking. We can have rapport, but maybe we're not going to go break bread together. We still have, it doesn't mean that like we like each other so much that we just want to spend all this time together. We just have rapport.
Yeah.
And people will mistake that too. Like in work, you have to have rapport with your colleagues and rapport with the people that you're working with. It's the feeling of liking. You don't have to be besties with everybody. Not everyone on the team wants to go out and have drinks on Friday. Like that's okay. You can still have an amazing, highly functional, high performing team when you have rapport and respect.
Yeah. And just one point on that is, and I've seen this where leaders will input themselves within a working cohort's social circle. They'll show up to dinners or drinks. They don't really want to be there. They just don't want to miss out, or they're worried that people are going to be talking about them, so they want to make sure they're there.
Yep.
Or they're just doing it thinking that it's the right thing to do by showing up. But sometimes you don't have that rapport, and it's okay to be like, no, you guys go. I don't need to be there.
Yeah.
That's going to get you more respect. That's going to get you more buy-in from your people.
Yeah.
Because they see you being authentic. And I think that's really what it all comes down to, right? It's just authenticity and not, if you really believe in your mission, it's going to come across.
Yep. Of course. And there's like, I would do the dinner, but not go out after. Even when I was speaking or working, like, and I was invited out with the C-suite or whatever, I would absolutely join for dinner. And then a lot of people would go out after. And that was my signal, go back to the hotel room. You can have fun and there's camaraderie that's built that way. But you do have to think about how you're positioning yourself. And are you going to go out and be authentic in that type of environment? Probably not. And maybe you shouldn't be. And your people aren't. So let them go blow off some steam as well. So I think that's a really great point.
Yeah. The topic I wanted to kind of get into today is, it's funny, this video popped up on my feeds and I watched it again on the way back for this, just to refresh what exactly this guy said. But I am starting to see this pattern of people over-optimizing or trying to over-optimize their schedules, their routines, their supplementation, their nutrition, their exercise, and they're completely missing the point. This clip that I saw, Harvard professor, you've probably seen clips of him. I forget, I deliberately didn't look his name up because I don't want to name and shame, but he was on Tim Ferriss's podcast.
Okay.
And they're talking about his routine in the morning. And it was all based around getting this, what he said, insane 4 hours of focus during the day where he can get his productivity done. But he's telling what he does. all these he thinks he's doing a great job of the timing of his caffeine, the dosing of his protein, the timing of that, and all of this. But then he lets slip that he sleeps like shit,
Mm.
says his HPA axis is an absolute dumpster fire.
Explain that. Hold on. HPA axis. Tell us,
So
educate us.
it's your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenal glands. So it's this
Mm.
axis that manages uh, your stress responses and your energy and things like that. Um, really, really important that that doesn't get fried.
Mm.
And that's when you think about nervous systems being fried, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Really, is your HPA
Okay.
axis. So in my mind, I'm like, and I even commented on it that
Mm.
he's doing all of this stuff to just fill in these huge holes in his lifestyle.
Mm.
All you have to do to get 4 hours of insane focus is sleep good. Then you don't need to. He was talking about he takes 320 grams or milligrams of caffeine a day, which I probably end up drinking. I think there's about 200 in this. I probably end up
Okay.
drinking more. Um, but it's like no wonder you can't sleep if you're delaying. He's taking that later in the morning.
Yeah.
You can't sleep. Your HPA axis is all fucked up. Caffeine doesn't help with that.
Nope.
What are you doing?
God.
Start with those two. Get your sleep right. Then you probably actually your HPA axis will start to realign itself because of the sleep. And it just really drove home the point that this is a guy who's a Harvard professor. He's clearly a smart dude,
Yeah.
and I've seen it with a bunch of people, um, where it's just like you just focus on the basics. Yes, adding some stuff is going to help, and I supplement and things of that nature. But I see a lot with nutrition. People take all these expensive multivitamins and things like that. The nasty green drink, which is overpriced and overrated. I won't say the brand. Um, but if you just got your digestion and your gut terrain sorted out, you won't need that. The reason you need that is because you have to take more vitamins in because I say that fix your diet too,
Yes.
but you won't get the nutrition from your diet if your digestion's not right. The amount of people I see who just do 200 grams of protein a day, but you don't digest it properly. You don't get half of that, maybe
Mm.
even a third of it. Let's
Wow.
focus on that. And it's the same with the medical system, the sick care system of let's just treat symptoms and fill in all these holes. There is no need to over optimize. I think people drive themselves crazy trying to, make and people probably hearing this, knowing what my lifestyle's like. But when you actually break it down, I don't necessarily add that much. It's all about, for me, and I coach this with my clients, it's about taking stuff away.
Yeah.
Take out the processed foods, take out the seed oils, take out caffeine at a certain time of day, take out alcohol for the most part. I still drink a couple nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about adding stuff.
Yeah. What's the
You
the
optimize just by
foundation?
stripping your life down to what it should be.
Yeah.
We put all of these hurdles in our way.
That's what they do when they're doing allergy testing, right? They remove everything and then they start to add back in and
Yeah.
see how your body's responding. I think I started thinking about Michael Jackson when you were talking about the Harvard professor,
Mm.
because I view him as like a a soul that was in a body that was completely managed by people outside of himself,
Yeah.
right? You need to sleep, here's these pills. You need you need to be on stage, here's these injections.
Yeah.
Everything that he had going on, it's like we take the human body, right, this vessel that our soul is in, our soul, like our beautiful energy being that is so much bigger than this body,
Mm-hmm.
and we treat it in lots of ways, but in what we're talking about right now is um this optimization, and how do I get this focus, and how do I do this at the best. And I understand those things, but we're losing our humanity in some senses. We're losing
Yeah.
our joy in some senses. And yes, there are joys that maybe were a joy to us that we give up because we want to feel better. Those are beautiful things. But I see people going through the motions wearing, it's like the hustle badge, right? They're highly functional in these areas, but they are deathly functional in other areas,
Oh yeah.
and it's not sustainable. And I just go back to like, where's the joy in your life? Like, is this really bringing you joy? And if it is, fantastic. If you're like, I do this, I work 4 hours a day, and the rest of the time I am with my loved ones, I am meditating, I am doing all these other things to take care of my physical self and really feed my soul,
Yeah.
great. But it's very rare that I see that. It's like everything is so scheduled, everything is so specific. It's completely regimented, and that can be very powerful. I just question, what are we teaching our children? What are we teaching others? And, I'm glad that that guy was transparent about saying that he sleeps like shit, because a lot of these people get on and they talk about these super, super high optimized lives that they live, and it feels unreachable for most people. So they kind of just check it off and like, well, I can't do that, or I can't even imagine doing that. And they dismiss it rather than getting the true authenticness of it. Like, yeah, I do this, but I also sacrifice this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the concerning thing though was that he wasn't raising a red flag about
Yeah.
that. He was explaining why he takes 15 to
Mm,
20,
understood.
20 grams of
Right.
creatine
Rather than fix the
because
sleep. Yeah.
that helps when you don't sleep.
Mm,
As I do, you don't need to. If you sh- if you're taking something to make up for the fact
yeah.
that you're not getting the basics right,
Right.
that's not going to be good for you long term. That's going
That's
to catch up to you.
that's just like this. It's as simple as can be. If you're cutting yourself and you're bleeding and you keep putting a Band-Aid on, you don't need the Band-Aid if you stop cutting yourself.
Hmm.
So how do we stop cutting ourselves?
Exactly.
Um, how do we?
Exactly. And you see it in business. You see it with people's morning routines.
Yeah.
And again, I'm all for. I think meditating in the first 10, 15 minutes is a great way to start your day for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But you see people who are doing, their morning routines end up being 3 hours long.
Right. But I
And
get up at 4 a.m.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they're not sleeping as much.
Yeah.
You see a lot of these folks, and it's like you clearly don't have kids, or
Right.
you have
Of
someone
life.
looking after your kids in the morning and getting them ready for school, because that ain't real life
Right.
for the majority of people.
Right.
Um,
Or it's not
and I
prioritized.
think there's this so I mean, really my point to our listeners is, don't just see this stuff on social media, these people virtue signaling about how great their mornings are and you should do this too, and this will fix your life. One, because it almost brings a shame on you, right? That
Mhm.
you can't compare to that. There's just no way you can do it. Um, it and I come across this a lot with people I coach, is they think that, oh, I don't have time to go to sleep earlier.
Right.
Sure enough, you'll find we'll talk about things. I'm like, why don't you just try like moving that or doing that together? So then you've got 30 minutes there, and then let's start with that.
Yeah.
And you'll find it. But it's because we've made this huge thing of, to be healthy, you have to do all of this. And it's
Yeah.
why I really don't like that Brian Johnson's whole shtick. Nothing against him personally, but his whole shtick that of reversing his age, and you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Yes. He looks
I'm like,
scary.
fuck me, man. No, that's just not the way to live.
Right.
It's not the way that God intended us to
Yeah.
live.
And that's cool if
And
you want to do that. Use your body as a
yeah,
sign. I mean, cool. Cool.
but
Go do it.
you
But
should not need 100 supplements to get your day going. I take stuff for liver health and for my gut, because I'm still repairing that. But
mhm.
there's no need to go crazy with it.
Mm,
If you're not getting the basics right, if you're not getting to zero, you should not be trying to add and get to one,
yeah.
because the math is never going to work in your favor there.
I'll go to women giving birth out in the fields, right? It still happens. I mean, in other countries, right? They don't have the medical care
Yeah.
systems that we have. Our body is amazing. The less we mess with it, in a lot of cases, the better off we are. But the problem is, just by being in the environments that we're in, we're messing with our bodies. But looking at where we are creating our need, right? We're both sipping on coffee, right? This is not like, oh, we have these big, clean, healthy lifestyles. There's choices. I always go back to, no matter what it is, whether we're talking about this, whether we're talking about a goal that someone wants to accomplish, anything, the first question is, what is the very next step? What is one thing you can do to support what you want to do and move it in the right direction? I just want one thing.
Yeah.
For a client was getting to sleep on time with kids, with everything else. It was putting a glass of water by his bed, right? And that would start the wind down. But he wouldn't have to go back out of the bedroom, disturb anybody else, go get the water that he forgot. So it was something very, very simple. Do that. Try it as an experiment for a week. Anything that you want to do and accomplish, just pick one small thing that moves the needle in the right direction and do that for whatever experimental time. Not more than, I like a week, right? And maybe it's a day for someone if you're really having some challenges. At the
Yeah.
end of that week, how did it go? How are you feeling? Like, you need a couple days of it consistently. Then you can add something else. Then you can add something else, right? And then things become a habit. And it becomes much easier. And then before you know it, you're doing 10 really good things that are moving you towards your goal. But if you tried to do those 10 off the bat, you were never a person that did those 10. So this is a whole new thing. It's like people that
Yeah.
win the lottery. They don't keep the money because they didn't ever had the habits to actually earn the money. So how would they know or have the habits to keep that kind of money?
Yeah. And I have a very big sample size of people who wanted to start a fitness routine, right? I personal trainer for 15 something years,
Mm.
probably done thousands consultations, assessments and stuff which you do before someone starts working with you as a trainer. And I could always tell based on what expectations people had of themselves, whether they were going to be a long-term
Mm.
client or just actually be able to stick to a fitness routine. Because sometimes these assessments were just it was a complimentary thing for joining the gym. It wasn't to
Yeah.
work with you. And I think I've probably said it on here before. Everybody that came in and were like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week, or I'm going to train with you 3 times and do stuff 3 times at home by myself. No, you're not.
Yeah. Not
You've never
happening.
worked out before. This has not been part of your routine.
Yeah.
Yes, it's quite easy to go in guns blazing, but what happens is you either get too sore,
Mm-hmm.
you get burned out really
Sick.
quickly.
Yep.
And you probably see this with coaching clients and real estate agents too, that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do, generate leads by cold calling, and then I'm gonna go door knocking, and then I'm gonna do
Yeah.
all this social media stuff, and you try and do it all at once, and you get burned out, and it all just comes crashing down.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, the person that comes in and says, I think I'll just start with you once a week or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's perfect. And
Yep.
then I'll give you some stuff to do by yourself, and then we'll add your cardio day in, and then we'll start nutrition. Just drink more water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you need to up your protein. Let's just add one extra 20, 30 grams meal or a shake if we have to throughout the day to bump that up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're never gonna create a sustainable routine by throwing in 10 things at once.
No. You have to do something until it feels weird not to do it. Right? You have to do something
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable and abnormal and not your usual until you're like, I can't imagine not doing this today. I can't imagine not,
Yeah.
or when I don't drink enough water, like, oh my God, I completely feel it the next day, right? Like, it just, pick one thing. Pick one
Yeah.
thing and start there. And then do it consistently and check in with yourself and see how you feel. And it's so simple, but we overcomplicate it so
Yeah.
much. And if you start today, you'll be so happy because you'll be that much further along 6 months down the road from now. And the best time to start, yeah, we would have all loved to do this when we were 20 or 30, but we were abusing our bodies and running around and having fun. And I have some great fucking memories that I will gladly trade some liver health for.
Yeah. Well, the liver regenerates, so you've got a good chance there.
Good. But it's never too late. It's never too small. And to me, the smaller, the better. Like, go micro
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah, and just be flexible too,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what comes with this over optimization, right? It's like, well, I have to be in bed at this time, or I'm gonna sleep shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you miss it by 10 minutes because a kid woke up or something, and then because you've told yourself that, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
I generally don't feel the difference when on the days I wake up at 4 versus 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
They're the two times I wake up during the week. Most of times 5:30, at 4 o'clock if I'm gonna go work out early.
Mm-hmm.
I generally don't feel the difference, but if I told myself that I did,
Yeah.
or that I would. Now, if I was doing 4 a.m. every day, I've done that before, and that builds up.
Yes.
You run out of adrenaline eventually.
Well, because
But
you have children and you can't just go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night, or
yeah,
you can't even the wind down, especially with younger children and even older children, because there's a lot of driving involved. It's very different when you're coming home after work or you're kind of wrapping up your day. And if it's just you or you and an adult partner, you're kind of winding down throughout the evening. When there's children involved, like that's like, okay, day number 2 is started.
yeah,
um, and then it's a kind of an abrupt shut off, right? Okay, finally everyone's in bed and it's like, whoo, it's like this coming to a screeching halt almost. And then you start to like wind down. So how can you
yeah,
do that efficiently? Or how can you start a wind down that incorporates your children as you're starting to near their bedtime? And then your bedtime, soon
yeah,
after that.
yeah.
Preparation.
Preparation's huge,
Mhm.
and something I'm really big on is making the people I work with as autonomous as possible and educate people to make informed decisions around.
Mm,
For example, you don't really want to be eating within 3 hours of going to bed. Okay, so we talk about that.
yep.
But then on the flip side, if you've worked out at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then you've had to go and get your kid from soccer practice at 7:30, you're not home till 8, what do you do then?
Right.
Because you need the fuel to recover. Maybe you haven't eaten enough. And this happens to me quite a lot. Didn't eat enough during the day because I don't like to eat while I'm at the office. Um, but then you're like, well, I've got to get some fuel in because then my recovery is not going to be as great, but that's going to affect my sleep.
Hmm.
Some days I'll eat something big at like 4:30 and just decide, you know what, I haven't eaten enough today,
Yep.
but I'm just going to stop eating now and let this food's going to digest. This will tide me over, and maybe tomorrow I'll bump up the amount of fuel I bring in.
Yeah.
And that's just making informed decisions and being flexible um, with your schedule. I remember this time in college, I turned down sex with my girlfriend at the time because I had to get home and make a protein shake because I was very obsessive about that at the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And I always laugh about that because it's like, what a fucking stupid thing for a man to do. Turn down sex for some fucking protein.
Because you need your
And
protein,
that
bro.
shake did not have any impact on how I looked, how I felt.
Nope.
It was just I was reading all the muscle magazines, and that's what you had. You had to get it exactly at 3 p.m. You had to have your 40 grams of protein or
Yep.
whatever.
Here you go. That's funny. Oh God. Um, live and learn. Live and learn.
Yep.
And so flexibility, yeah, 100%. And I'll add to that, for me, flexibility in calendaring, because love me good time block,
Yes.
is white space. You have to have white space in your calendar throughout the day. And whether it's 15-minute blocks, whatever it is, you need when things run over, right? Or something gets missed or something's
Yeah.
delayed, or you have to go to the bathroom, or you just want to get up and stand up and walk around for a few minutes. People that book back to back because they're trying to consolidate all of this work into one big block so that they have time after, which most of the time they don't. I think that's a mistake. You can have days where you can be hunkered down, head down, but so important to keep white. See, 'cause the other thing is new opportunities come up. I was to the point where I was like, I'm booking 3 to 4 weeks out. I actually wanted to have this meeting or I wanted to take this opportunity, but
Right.
I haven't left myself any time. So take a couple hour time chunks, during your day and just block them out. And if they don't, if they don't get filled up, they're always going to get filled up with admin or
Yeah.
something. But make sure you're leaving yourself white space. Make sure you're leaving yourself room to breathe. Make sure you're letting go of any idea of perfection, which what is even perfection? And start super small and just build on one
Yeah.
thing that moves you towards your goal.
Yeah. And I think if you can do two things, if one is a subtraction and one is an addition,
Okay, makes
that I
sense.
don't mind. If I'm
Okay.
going to cut out seed oils, for
Yes.
example, and drink more water,
Mhm.
that's fine.
Right.
But if I'm going to drink more water and get more protein, I'm giving myself a bit too much to get, because again, you're not at zero. You're
Mhm.
starting from a deficit.
Mhm.
So trying to get to zero with too many things is not the move. It's not the move.
I think I was about to say, especially when it comes to health, but this is also true mentally when you're doing work because it's also can be
Yeah.
very mentally tiring. I think one of the things that people underestimate is that sometimes you feel worse before you feel better. Right. So let's say I'm not going to drink soda anymore. So you're cutting out soda and you're replacing it with water. Well, your body is going through withdrawals of sugar, withdrawals of caffeine, and you're like, "Ugh, I've been doing this a week and I still feel like terrible. I feel worse, as a matter of fact." And then they give up on it. So
Yeah.
remembering that sometimes you do feel worse before you feel better. Sometimes your body is recalibrating and like, oh my gosh, I'm used to having all of these things that were put in that I had to process before. Now I don't have to. We can go into a conversation about, things that your body stores in your fat, if it feels that's not safe to send out into your bloodstream, and then it will hold you onto water so you retain water until then it will flush it out, that you can feel a lot worse. And
Yeah.
mentally, when you're taking on something challenging or you're doing something that you haven't done before in business, it is exhausting. So you're like, man, this is killer. I can't do this, but you can do it. You just have to get over that hump. And again, that's why that doing that one thing is super, super important. Um, and knowing that you might feel a little worse before you feel a hell of a lot better and a hell of a lot more accomplished.
Yeah.
And then your subconscious is like, ooh, we can do these things. Like we are that person. Okay, cool. All
Yeah. Exactly.
right. Any last thoughts?
No, I think I'll just be repeating myself if I
Okay.
if I
All
get
right.
any more thoughts. Yeah.
Well, let's not repeat ourselves. Let's just what's one thing you're committed to right now or that you are adding in or taking away or that you're just staying consistent on?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not adding anything. I think yeah, just sticking with the actually I guess being really committed to gratitudes.
Mm,
Um particularly around, as I shared with you earlier, a lot of family, uh how do I say it? We've got
stuff.
some losses in the near future,
Mm,
plural. So just and I found it's been a real north star for me, just being grateful. Even when I've gone to see my mum since we transferred her to hospice, I don't really get sad. I don't get sad when I think about her as much as I was, because I'm just letting gratitude just. But
mhm.
it's practice, it's work, it's
Yeah,
commitment. So that's what I'm really focused on right now.
good, good. And these are the times that try you in that,
Yeah,
really show you what you're capable of. So,
exactly. Yeah.
so that's awesome. All right, thank you for sharing.
Well, what are you committed to? Can't get away.
Oh, I feel like my life's in a whirlwind at the moment, but I've been committed to my water. I've been committed
All right, there's something
yes,
grounding.
yes, committed to my water, and I am recommitting to, and I'm just going to do this for today, is to getting at least 1 TM transcendental meditation in today for 20 minutes.
All right.
Um,
We should do an episode on that.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do an episode on meditation and talk. I'm listening
Yeah.
to a great book right now called um, The Surrender Project. And it's pretty cool. Actually, I think you would really, really like it. So it's called The Surrender
Okay.
Project, and there's a lot of talk. It's not talking about telling you how to meditate, but this guy basically his life completely changes, starting off with meditation and going into deep meditation and structure and strictness, and going into flexibility and basically surrendering to life,
Yeah.
and getting away from this voice inside of us, the ego, the whatever it is. So it's a very cool book, The Surrender Project. And now I'm starting Go Giver. So, but continue with my water. And see, I already want to go adding. I got to get back to my weights. That's something I've let go of. My body does well with that. I've been really good with cardio. I know that's probably like makes you cringe. Um, so getting back to weights, I started back yesterday at the gym.
Good.
It's very easy for me to get off the treadmill and go right to the sauna. I look over,
Ah,
there's a whole bunch of people over by the weights or anything. I don't really want to, but um, I just suck it up, and do it.
yes. Do it.
Okay. All right, friends. We hope you're living your most amazing life. Fill your day with gratitude, pick one small thing, and just do it consistently for the next week. Let us know your wins. Let us know your challenges. We want to hear from you. Until next time, friends. Bye for now.